Let's hit it. And welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort. All right, here we go. What you think about, you will bring about. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I am thrilled to be here, especially since it's World Alzheimer's Month. And don't forget that they are going to be releasing their annual report on September 21st, and you're going to want to get your hands on that. So you can go to ADI.org for more information there. For those of you that enjoyed our opening song, it's called Clarion Call by the Mark Arneson Band featuring Maya Dore, and you can download that on any of your favorite music platforms. I know some of you might be new and wondering what we're all about, and bottom line, Alzheimer Speaks is about sound information, not just sound bites. My own mother had dementia for 30 years, and I am really invested in raising all voices. From all different angles and having respectful conversations. So think about it. You might have a story that needs to be shared with others, and I would love to talk to you on that. For all of our listeners that have followed and liked and shared, I hope that you continue to do that. Please feel free to subscribe to the show so you don't miss any of them. We are about raising and kind of building this sense of community and collaboration and comfort in order to win this battle against dementia. And I thank you each for being a part of that. You all play a very, very important role. Now, before I introduce our guests today, and we have many of them because we have a whole panel of people. We have got the cast, or a majority of the cast from The Forgiving and The Forgetting, Hope and Healing for Alzheimer's, which was an audio play that we aired this Tuesday, and that's in the archive. So if you haven't heard it, you can always go back and listen to it and share it with others. But I always like to give a shout out to some companies that I just think are doing some good things. One is Coral Health. They, during COVID-19, are allowing people to download two of their apps. One is Music First, and the other is Coral Faith. And you can just go to Coral, that's CORO health.com for more information on that. I also want to give a shout out to Artist Senior Living in Woodbury. We just launched their first memory cafe called the Artist Way Memory Cafe. And they're going to be holding those virtually every third Wednesday of the month from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time. Anybody is able to join us no matter where you're located, and you can call 612-200-0506 at 612-200-0506. And kudos to Artist Senior Living of Woodbury for joining the movement. Speaking of memory cafes, I adore them, and you can find out where all of them are located. There's over 800 of them now listed in the Memory Cafe Directory.com. Sadly to say, there's only about 50 of them that are virtual, and we need to get more of them online. So let people know that there's a need, and if they have any questions on how to do that, they can easily reach out to me if they would like to. Let's see, two other things I want to mention is one that Dementia Alliance International is having a webinar for their meeting of the minds on human rights, a practice model in residential aged care with Daniela Greenwood, who is just an incredible, incredible person. And I know that you will get lots of valuable information from her. And you can go to DAI.com DAI.org for more information on that. Then we're going to hear from the Footbar Walker, and we will be right back with you.
Introducing the life-changing Footbar Walker.
I'm Peggy from Danville, Kentucky, and I'm 91 years old. The Footbar Walker revolutionized my care of George. The saving that I made from having to put him in a nursing home came to about $192,000. The Footbar Walker opens and closes just like a standard walker. The only thing that is different is the top bar and the foot bar. Does that ever make a difference?
Does someone you love use a walker? Do they struggle to get up from a seated position? Are you a caregiver dealing with physical pain and stress as you help your patient? The Footbar Walker was designed to assist not only the patient, but also the caregiver. Patients have more control standing up, and no lifting from the caregiver is required. See how it works at thefootbarwalker.com. That's thefootbarwalker.com. Peggy, would you recommend the Footbar Walker?
Do I ever? I would not be in the health that I'm in today at this age had it not been for the Footbar Walker.
Well, and I can really endorse that product. I love it. I've actually seen it in action. It is absolutely fantastic. And I don't normally throw endorsements out there, but I really do believe in the Footbar Walker and how it can change the life of both the person utilizing it and making them feel more independent and also build some strength, as well as help the person's physical health, who is the care partner. So now today we are going to be talking to the cast of, again, The Forgiving and the Forgetting, Hope and Healing for Alzheimer's, which was written by Dr. and Reverend Jade Angelica. She was with us on Tuesday. She's been on the show before. She is absolutely a marvelous, marvelous person, and she has worked so hard for so many years to get this to come to light. So I am just thrilled that she was able to corral the whole team together for us, or a majority of the cast, to have this discussion about the audio play today. So welcome, Jade. How are you doing?
Doing well, Lori, and as always, I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you for having us.
Well, great. I thought it'd be nice to have you introduce the cast one by one, and then from there we'll go into some questions with each of them after we do the introductions. And our listeners, you feel free to call in if you have some questions or comments about the play or what you're hearing being said today. That number is 323-870-4602. That's 323-870-4602. So, Jade, you want to go ahead and introduce us to the first cast member?
Yes, I would be happy to. It is my joy to introduce the cast. There are 5 members of the cast here with us today. And the first thing I want to say is that we are all located in Dubuque, Iowa, which is a relatively small city in Iowa. And I am so impressed with the caliber of performing arts here. And we have such a marvelous cast who joined us. So the first cast member I'd like to introduce is Joan Mest, and Joan played the role of Lizzie, the mother in the cast who had Alzheimer's disease. And Joan is a native of Dubuque, and like Lizzie, she has an amazing and supportive daughter who she wanted to make sure we gave a shout-out today to her because she was very supportive during this production. As her day job, Joan works as an office-scale extraordinaire, and she's been doing this work for 20 years and loves it. Joan has done a lot of local community theater, but she was on a break from theater when she saw our audition call for a radio show, and she just knew that she found something new and exciting and fun and something that would be challenging. So we were so grateful to have Joan as part of our cast.
Wonderful, Joan. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Jade, thanks for those kind words.
You're welcome.
We're excited to have you. Who's next on the list, sir, Jade?
The next cast member is Dave Asmus, who played the role of Father Tom, Lizzie's son. And you may think this was typecasting, but it wasn't intended to be, because Dave is a retired minister. And his career included serving a rural parish in Kansas. He was a camp director, a fundraiser for several church-related organizations. He did campus ministry work and worked also as a fundraising consultant. So Dave has lots of things that he enjoys, including container gardening and planting and tending to native plants and home brewing. But now we think Dave has a new pastime and talent that he discovered, and we now think Dave enjoys acting.
Well, welcome, Dave. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Glad to be on this. Glad to be able to participate today.
Oh, we're excited to have you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, who's next? I'm excited to talk to everybody today, Jade.
Next is Alonda Gregory, and Alonda played the role of Maggie's sister, or played the role of Maggie, who is Lizzie's sister, but she was deceased. So Alonda comes to Dubuque from Chicago, and she is a writer and a creative planner and a life coach, life mentor, also a community advocate and speaker. And her vision for her work is to assist the underserved creative professionals with their business needs. So Alonda has performed in many community theater productions, and we chuckle that she has a specialized acting niche. Before she auditioned for The Forgiving and the Forgetting, I saw her perform in another role where her character was also a figment of someone's imagination. So that's her niche, playing characters who aren't really there.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Well, welcome, Alonda. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and I am real. I'm a real person. I'm actually here, not a figment of imagination.
Well,
thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for showing up live with us. We appreciate it. Okay, Jade, who's up next?
Up next is Ruth Asmus, and Ruth played the character of Elma, a care center resident with Alzheimer's, and she also provided piano accompaniment for us. And Ruth is a retired elementary school teacher, and she is also a singer, and she sings in the Dubuque Chorale. For this play, Ruth was like a gift from the universe because we needed someone to play piano accompaniment, and Ruth so generously said, "Oh, I can do that."
Well, isn't that sweet?
She did it beautifully and very creatively.
Wonderful.
It was actually a lot of fun.
Oh, well, that's good. Now, are you and Dave married then? With the same last name?
Yes, we are. We have been for quite a while.
Okay, we got to be in full disclosure around here, you know. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And then who's last but not least?
Fred Miller. And Fred played the role of Lyle, another care center resident who had Alzheimer's. And Fred has so many interests. I just want to tell you about them. He describes himself as a Dubuquer prodigal son who left and came back. And he was an international IT consultant, a systems analyst, a software design, technical writer, graphic artist, illustrator, carpenter, machinist. He does remodeling, electronics. He does leather. He sews, upholstery, jewelry, scientist, outdoor stuff. He's a black belt in martial arts and a teacher for 12 years in a Korean school. However, Fred shares that his greatest achievement was 1,200 hours working in Chicago, one-on-one with the handicapped, the severely disabled, and terminally ill children. Fred really didn't know what he was getting himself into when he came to audition for a play. but now he claims to love acting.
Well, welcome, Fred. How are you today? And thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
You're welcome, Lori, and I'm tremendous and terrific.
Well, good. That's what we want to hear. Well, I'm going to start out by talking with Jade and throw her kind of the first couple of questions here, and I'll just pull everybody in as we go. So first of all, Jade, how the heck did it feel to have your cast assemble for this talk back, and what did it feel like to listen to the show the other day in and of itself?
It was pure delight for me to listen to the show, and I want all of you to know that I thought your performances were absolutely terrific, and I was brought to laughter and tears on many occasions during the play, and it fascinates me because I've heard this play, I've seen this play 100 times, and every time I hear it, it's fresh, and I just feel that this cast really, really brought it to life in a way I hadn't heard it come to life before, and maybe that was because it was just listening. It was just listening, and there were no distractions, no visual distractions. So I was able to really concentrate and really, really hear it, really take it in. So always pure delight for me.
Can you tell the audience how long you've been working on this? I think people will be amazed at how long sometimes it takes to get things pushed through.
Yeah. I started working on this play in 2009. It actually, the first draft of the script was actually an assignment, a paper that I turned in for one of my assignments in my Doctor of Ministry program. I was studying in a program called Faith, Health, and Spirituality. So this script, as listeners noticed, brings together all of those things, the spirituality, the Alzheimer's science, and some of the other things I learned in my studies about how to communicate, techniques for how to communicate and connect with people with Alzheimer's and dementia. So that's how it began. 4 years later, we were able to raise enough money to actually do a live performance at the University of Dubuque in conjunction with an Alzheimer's Association conference. 2 years after that, we did a live performance in Chicago and attempted to videotape it because doing live plays are so expensive. And so we wanted to memorialize it so that we could share it with people. And unfortunately, we didn't know enough about audio recording at the time, and the video was good, but the audio was not. So we couldn't really distribute it. The following year, like 6 months later, we did it still in 2015 in Los Angeles as a reading, and the reading was recorded, and the audio tech gave me a copy, and I thought, wow, this would make a really great audio play. And so that's what gave me the idea to just do it as audio. And we waited and waited and waited until the universe brought to us a very talented audio technician named Laird Scott, who just recently moved back to Dubuque. And like all of the cast, he was willing to donate his time and his talent and his equipment for this project that had meaning to everyone, that we really did want to be able to help other people who were on the Alzheimer's journey. So we started it a year ago in September with our casting call, and it took just a year for us to get it performed, recorded, and all of the permissions that we needed to go forward. So here we are.
Wonderful. It's just nice for people to get a little bit of a background. I'm going to pull in Joan next. Joan, why don't you tell our audience what part you auditioned for and why, and then what part did you get?
Well, I originally auditioned for the part of the narrator. I didn't know a lot about the play, and I had only received like a snippet or two of parts available. And I thought, okay, I can be a narrator. That sounds something easy enough. I can handle this, But then both Jade and Susie asked me if I would be open to auditioning for other roles. And, you've got to trust the writer, producer, director, that they know what they want, So they wanted me to audition for Lizzie, and the rest is history.
And Lizzie's the main character?
Lizzie is the mom with Alzheimer's, the main character, yeah. And that was a little tough. It was a lot more challenging than I had originally thought going in. The play is very personal for Jade, and I wanted to do well and make her so proud, and it was challenging and mentally exhausting. I had to be two people at once. I had to be Lizzie in her normal state and in her altered state with Alzheimer's. So that was a challenge.
Oh, I bet. What was your favorite part of the performance for you?
Walking away with fabulous memories and great new friends.
That's always nice.
Learning more, about Alzheimer's as well.
I was going to ask you if you had much knowledge of the disease prior to the show.
Some, not a lot. I know people that are like an early onset, but nothing, I don't think, to the extreme of what was in the play with Lizzie. So it was tough trying to, be in that state, and I think I did a good job, personally, and I think Jade was happy with it, I hope.
I think you did a great job. I think the whole play, the storyline, so many families are going through so much of what you guys brought to life for us, and it's just a nice way for people not to feel alone. And it's also nice to have another medium to be able to learn about this. And so I thank you. I think you did a great job. So I appreciate your time with us. I'm going to go ahead and pull in Dave next, because Dave played, again, one of the major characters. He was the son to Lizzie. And I wanted to ask you, Dave, what was your experience of playing the role of Tom? And did you have any prior experience with dementia before coming into this play?
It was very enjoyable to play the role of Tom, because at the start of the play, I think he saw things very kind of black and white, and part of them being is that meaning that his mother should not be changing, and also thinking that he should be able to. He took his pastoral role very seriously, that he should be able to solve things, and he had difficulty accepting the changes that she was going through. And his sister Eva, who was estranged from the family, he called her back because he needed her help, so he could go to Rome to a conference. And she came back during that time, and then she changed her job and came back. And through her insight and wisdom, she confronted him, and so he changed and realized that he had to see things, that he could see his mother differently. And so it was really he was transformed, and it was enjoyable to play that role and to go through that change. In terms of, I guess, not specifically dementia, but in 2008, my mother had a stroke, and it changed her personality. And what I and also my sister learned very quickly was that when we were with her, or even in a conversation over the phone, she set the agenda. You never knew where she was going to go, and so instead of entering those conversations with, if you maybe an agenda or expectations in terms of how she was supposed to respond, I learned to let that go. and just to be present with her. And as my sister said, you just go with the flow, wherever she's going, you try to figure it out and follow her, support her with that. So that experience with my mother, I think, was very helpful and gave me some good insight into what Lizzie was experiencing, and also could see how Eva picked that up much more quickly than before I did as a character.
Okay, great. Was there anything about your role of the character in the play that surprised you at all?
I guess not really. I mean, Tom started out with, like I said earlier, kind of seeing things or seeing the world as kind of black and white terms. And fortunately, he listened, and again, through Eva's confronting him, he realized that he had to step away from that and rather, I think, see things more in gray tones. And in doing that, he really began to, he was able to really appreciate and enjoy the new place where his mother was, and I think made some reconnections with her that really enhanced the quality of life for both he and for his mother.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking more from a personal standpoint reading the script. Were you surprised to see that transformation? Because this really is a very common transformation that people make. And some people never make it. They just kind of get stuck in that black and white era. And so I was kind of just wondering if that surprised you at all in the play itself.
I guess no, it didn't. Mainly because I would attribute that to the experience that I had with my mother. How when she had a stroke, I mean, the change was very dramatic. Immediately after the stroke, she was very combative, which was not her nature at all. But that she moved past that, and I quickly realized from that this is a different person now. It did change her personality, and I guess that gave me some insight to how others change, and I guess it challenged me at the time to realize that if I was going to be present with her, then I also needed to change, and I guess I was grateful that I was able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did that very well throughout the play. I thought it was just nice, really nicely done, and the honesty of emotions, that you experienced through it, really came through. Any other insights that you walked away from the play with?
I guess just that how important it is to listen to others and also to listen to oneself. If I'm uncomfortable with the situation, rather than becoming defensive, can we step back and say, well, what's going on here, and how can I relate to the person that I'm having difficulty relating to? What can be changed? Can I change anything so that I can relate to them, and that the relationship that we had before, can that be continued in some way? Mm-hmm. As opposed to saying, no, you shouldn't, or ignoring or denying the changes that's taking place in the mind and behavior of a person, rather than hanging on to that, saying, okay, what can I do to change also?
Yeah, at the end, I'm going to play a piece that to me really brings to light where you shifted. And I think that'll be just a nice little wrap up of the journey that all the audience went through in terms of listening to the play. So thank you so much for joining us today. Alanda, I want to go to you next. Now, you played the role, as we talked, of the deceased sister of Lizzie, and the play itself raises a lot of issues of how society confuses Alzheimer's with mental illness, and even though Alzheimer's and other diseases like Lewy body and vascular dementia and FTD are true brain diseases, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the similarities and differences that you noticed between the way people with Alzheimer's and the people with mental illness are regarded and treated in our society today?
Well, doing this play, it actually really took me back to some past experience in my own family. So it was really presented in our family as, it's just something that you deal with, is whatever, they know better. It's really not taken seriously enough until everyone is impacted by it. And I just think that if it was taken seriously or handled with more care, there would be more resources available and more programs and money funded to go towards this, because it is serious. The brain pretty much controls many of our functions. And when we have these types of issues, and when people and families are impacted by these brain diseases, we have to be on the page of how to take care of this. How do we self-care in the midst of taking care of others, to know that this is not just something they can control. It's really, if you think about it, reflexes is something you don't control. Your reflexes is just automatic. You have to understand and look at how your brain works. You automatically, subconsciously do things without even thinking about it, because it's habitual, so your brain already have it programmed. So when I saw this and saw how dementia and Alzheimer's has impacted, still have your faculties, but you are taking back. You went back into a time and space that a lot of people are not even sure where you are, but you feel this. It's real to you, and that's what my character was. Even though it was a figment of her imagination, it was still real to her, and it felt so real to the point that, being caught up in characters, it felt like she was there. She really was there. And people on the outside that did not see her, like, oh, no, no, what are you talking about? No, she's not there. Why? Let's get a hold of yourself. But it's not that simple. And it took me, like I said, it took me back to see how mental illness, period, is not taken seriously enough.
Yeah, it really is an issue in our world today, with both mental illness and cognitive decline out there, and not enough funding, not enough understanding and empathy in terms of the situation. And hopefully that will change. So in your character Maggie, who seems to really be kind of this support, to Lizzie, what was your experience of being able to provide and kind of lift her and comfort her during the play?
How can I put it? It felt, once again, I had to go back to my experiences. It was a connection. Like, we kid around, we did a lot of things, and it really brought us closer as a cast, that we actually had and shared moments that were tender to us, because we felt this on a deeper level than just performing a play. And to be this, this person, this confidant of hers, even though it was figment, it was still something that she felt safe with, to even hold on to that memory. She felt safe enough to share with her sister, you know what I mean? And being this figment, it gives you some idea. It gives you an idea of who she was in her life, who she really was. She was that confidant. She was that helper, that person that was right there with her sister, her opinionated sister, but she still, gave her room to grow and to have the experiences that she had. And the moment that, she told Lizzie, that the people around you, they're not understanding, and kind of giving Lizzie the thing, like, hey, I'm really not here, but I'm going to just sit here with you, to comfort you in the midst of this, because you don't really understand, but I get it. So that was a moment of clarity for me, because in her mind, she knows, because in her mind she sees what's happening, but she's not connecting that it's actually happening, So just even for her to go back to that dead sister and having that figment of her, she still had that in her mind that she can go to. It was still her go-to. It was still somebody she trusted. And that's what I felt. I felt that on a level that, wow. And it took, as I said, it took me back to past experiences with my own family and own experience, that if we were more educated, I probably would have been I had more empathy for the relatives. But being a young person growing up with this, it did the same thing. And I walk into new experiences now, having that space to hold the space for them and to just help as much as I can.
Yeah, it's, my mom would talk with people who had passed, and, there's kind of two mindsets, kind of like what was stated earlier about this kind of black and white, world that we think we live in. And people would say, oh, she's hallucinating, she's delirious, just kind of cray, better get her some medication. And I always stood back and said, no. I said, she's communicating it on a different realm. If it's real or not, I don't care. She's calm. She's calm. This is about quality of life, and this is really, really important. So I think the discussions that you had in this play were very important, because they are very common. And I think people have to look at them, in a different light there. And especially people with Lewy body dementia, they have a lot of hallucinations, and they have frightening nightmares that are totally real to them. And we can tell them it doesn't exist all we want, but it doesn't matter, because in their world, it's real. So I thank you for bringing that to light. I'm going to go on to Ruth here, because I want to be able to squeeze everybody in. Now, Ruth, with you played Alma, who was a resident in the care center. What did you notice about Alma's behavior as you discovered her character?
I guess I kind of felt like she was acting out of a couple of different places, maybe. At the beginning, she was more childlike, or, she was collecting the nameplates, a little bit of mischievousness, although I don't think she did it for that purpose. I think she was doing what she thought she was supposed to do. And then towards the end, she revealed this issue with the faithfulness of her spouse, or the possible unfaithfulness of her spouse. And I have no idea whether that had been a true part of her past, but at that point she obviously felt it was. And so there were all these facets of her personality, which is, really true of us all when you stop and think about it. We're made up of a lot of different experiences and pieces. And maybe, I don't know, maybe with some of us, when we're dealing with a brain disease like Alzheimer's or dementia, maybe some of those parts dominate at one time or another. So, it was interesting to see those different personalities, if you will, appear. I don't know if it was that deep, but, coming from different places.
And had you had experience with somebody with dementia before?
Well, other than David's mom, not very much.
Okay.
My mother was fortunate enough to be amazingly sharp. Her problems were more physical than mental. So not so much. But David's mom was, she was the loveliest person in the world, and the filters just kind of disappear. At least at times. And so you just have to my favorite phrase it really came home to me when I listened on Tuesday was that yes and. You just go with it, and then you try to move on or to somewhere else or to something else that is a part of what they might be interested in following, and just agree with wherever they're at, and then try to keep moving. I like that yes and thought, and I try to remember that.
And that works for people without dementia too.
For sure, yes.
I think one of the beautiful things.
It's great with children too.
Yeah, I think one of the beautiful things actually about dementia is we learn different techniques of how to move through life more graciously,
right,
without offending or looking like we're controlling.
Yep. And I do think if we could all behave with each other as if with that kind of level of caring, we'd all be so much better off.
Oh, I agree.
Whether we're dealing with a patient, or not.
Yep. Patient, politics, any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of
I probably should tattoo it on my forehead. I'm not sure.
Well, and for our listeners who don't know, the yes and is really an improv technique to just keep the flow going. And it's kind of fun because once you are able to step into their world, once you are able to let go of the black and white in the stringent structure that we think our world has to be, you pick up this freedom, and you see this variety of colors and this endlessness of possibility. Really, when you step in there, it's really quite freeing. Or I found it to be.
Yeah, and it's kind of the magic of imagination. I used to teach lower elementary kids, and that's what they have before we kind of beat it out of them. But it's that magic that can be produced when you take down those filters and see all the different places we can go and the different things we can be. So yeah.
Exactly. Just like with some people with dementia, all of a sudden become painters and artists and poets, and they never would have done that in their old world because they're too worried about what everyone else was going to think.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
And so, it's pretty neat. Now, part of your role was also playing the piano accompanist, especially in certain really dramatic pieces, like when Father Tom's voice spoke songs. And what was that like for you? Because that actually is part of what I want to play at the end of our discussion here, because I just thought this sums it up. This is so powerful.
Yeah, those pieces were very powerfully written. They were a lot of fun to work on. David doesn't have a lot of experience with singing. He enjoys music a lot, but we worked at home at the piano, and I'm usually on the singing end of things. So I was really wonderfully reminded on how important a good accompanist can be, to be the support there. And actually, I have kind of been thinking about this towards this interview, is that I think a caregiver for someone can also be an accompanist, in that you are supportive. You can maybe fill in holes if somebody needs some input, You can lead sometimes if necessary, but you always take your cue from the performer.
Yep.
And I think that's a really good it didn't really occur to me till this week when I've been thinking through this, that's a really good I don't know whether it's an allegory or whatever it is, but really good comparison of roles, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Well, thank you again for participating in the play. I think it was just amazing, and for spending time with us today. I'm going to go on to Fred here, and I want to pull Fred Miller in. He played Lyle, and he was a care center resident as well. So, Fred, I want to know, first of all, how did you get involved in the play?
I got involved reluctantly and timidly. Actually, I had made a documentary film, produced and directed, wrote it for our neighborhood and the changing landscape and future shock and this and that. And my videographer was also assisting Jade at the time. So he knew that they were looking for actors, and I had previous acting experience. I played the innkeeper in the Christmas play in 6th grade. So that's how I got pulled into it, and it was turned out to be a very delightful encounter.
In the experience of being in the play, was there anything that stood out to you that just kind of hit you at a heart level of, wow, I didn't know I'd be getting this when I stepped in here?
Yeah, just about everything, I guess. For one thing, as regarding the experience, I was in the midst of a dental implant. I had a missing tooth, so I was very self-conscious, and I didn't have that whole lot of self-confidence. Later on, it occurred to me I could have turned that around, created fake news, and said I knocked my own tooth out. I was so dedicated to the role, but I decided not to do that. So, yeah, I mean, I was really delighted overall to be able to apply a philosophy that I had learned being immersed in Asian culture, and that is to help each other, respect each other, and be honest, always by the weak, and certainly in this, the dependency relationship that exists with the caregivers and relatives and family to the Alzheimer's patient. They are the weak. So I was delighted to be able to represent the patient, but to see how the whole situation lent itself to standing by the weak and treating them with understanding and compassion.
Okay. Who do you think should see this play?
Well, I think everyone should see it because it increases awareness, and moreover, it entertains as well as instructs. Like they used to say, you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll thrill to the adventure. So, children, they should be made aware that this is an aspect of life, like death. Sometimes death always happens, but that you may encounter that, and see adults change. People, as we're talking about the black and white viewpoints of things, should realize that it's really all a gray area.
Yeah.
And when, have been references, and as Ruth said, memories largely define individual personalities, but that's mostly in the brain. And we have to remember also that in a human being, there's also the heart and soul, and your immortal soul. And we're dealing and connecting and interacting with these individuals, even though they might not be there, so to speak, on that level too. So it's a kind of a spiritual.
Yep. Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate it. I'm going to pull Jade back in here. Jade, there was another role, another woman who was going to be here, Janine Pettis, I believe is how she pronounces her name, and she played Eva, Lizzie's daughter. And I know she wasn't able to be with us today, but I was just wondering if you had gotten any feedback from her in terms of how she felt about her role and being part of the play.
I did. And Janine, like Fred, is another person who didn't really know what she was getting herself into. She came to audition because she knows our co-director, Susie Wright, and Susie told her we were looking for actors who could sing, and Janine is a wonderful singer. So she came. I'll never forget this. She came, and we gave her the sign-in sheet, and we gave her the description of the play, and she was reading this in the other side of the room, and she came over with just this look of excitement on her face. She said, wow, I didn't really realize this is about. This is really fabulous. I'm really excited. And she also thought that she was going to audition for a different role. Susie had her kind of in mind for the role of Danny, the nurse's aide, and she was just the perfect Eva. Mm-hmm. And she brought the right amount of tension in her relationship with Tom and the right amount of sweetness in her relationship with Lizzie. So she had the ability in her personality to be able to play those two different roles with strength in both of them. But she also has elderly parents, particularly her mom, and she found that being Eva in this play gave her a lot of tools. So when the pandemic broke out, Janine is from New York, and so the pandemic broke out, and she went back to spend time with her parents. And she said that what she learned from being Eva was so helpful to her in her relationship with her own mother. So, again, a very powerful personal experience for her. But she also brought musical support to this play. Again, another one like Ruth. We said, oh, we need musical accompaniment. And she said, oh, I can do that. And she worked with some of the younger actors and singers to help them with their roles. So she was a wonderful contribution to this play.
Great. Well, that's great. I want to just play here what I think just summarizes kind of the shift, kind of from that black and white to full color and understanding of the disease. So, and then we'll come back and talk here.
What if when our elders' capacities diminished, they were not burdens? What if changing our lives and our priorities in order to care for them was an honor? What if spending time and energy and money enhancing their lives was a joy? What if loving them as they prepare to leave this life was our greatest blessing? What if, in caring for them and loving them, we become our best selves? What if? Alzheimer's disease, without question, is a call to love. May we have the courage to hear this call, and may our answer be yes. Amen.
Well, it's time for dancing, and everyone is here. That's good. You're here again too, Father Tom. That's great.
Yep, I'm here almost every day now. I just don't want to miss a single thing that happens. There's never a dull moment.
Well, that's for sure.
What if we open our hearts to hear
if.
I just think that's so beautiful, the way it's uplifting, it's fun, the powerfulness of the what ifs. If we have any listeners out there that want to call in and comment, again, the number is 323-870-4602. That's 323-870-4602. And again, if you haven't listened to the play, it is in our archive. So just go back to Tuesday and you will be able to hear that live. Jade and I talk for about the first 26 minutes. It's about a 90-minute play, and you can just forward ahead if you want to. Just cut to the chase. But again, I thank all of you so much. Jade, any last-minute comments from you?
Well, I was delighted to hear all of the thoughtful comments by the cast. And one of the things I did want to say is that the reason I chose to go with a play, because we also do workshops and presentations, the reason I chose to go with a play is because a great deal of information can be shared with a large number of people in a short amount of time. And theater has a way of opening minds and hearts and souls, as Fred so clearly pointed out to us. Is like we're multi-layered people, and theater can open us up in ways that other means of gaining information cannot. And so that's what we hope. We hope that by touching the emotions, which is a way that we really, really learn through emotions, we hope that people will take something new and different away from the experience of this show.
Exactly. Well, thank you. Dave and Ruth, I'm going to pull you two in. And,
sure.
And Ruth, any last comments from you, and then I'll go to Dave?
Not really. I would like to thank you and Jade for bringing this back up in my life. It's good in the midst of all of this to be looking at something a little broader than our own backyards, and something that brought a lot of joy back to listen to it this week. So thanks for involving us, and it was a real pleasure.
Great. Dave, anything you want to add?
I just add my thanks to you and Jade and to all the cast, and I hope that, if you will, that the play gets legs and that more people hear it, because I think it has a message that's very important for our society to hear as we learn how to deal with Alzheimer's and dementia. It's a great tool. It gives great insight into how to cope with that, how to live with that, and to find the joy in that.
Yeah, I think we need to learn to live more graciously, and there's lots of beautiful lessons in this play on how to do that, from family members to friends to people, professionals working in the industry as well. Alanda, how about you? Any last minute thoughts?
Well, I'm glad to hear everybody's voice again, even though we're doing this online. But I just want everyone to just really just know the signs and do not take it lightly, and definitely keep your own self, your own brain power functioning, and do as much as you can. I'm so for wealth and health, and definitely wellness of your brain, because that's what helps us move around and just be more empathetic. So that's mine. And I miss you guys.
Thank you. Joan, I'm going to pull you in and see if you have any last minute comments.
Oh, just a huge thanks to you, to Jade, to Susie, to my fellow castmates. It was a joy. It truly was. And just all of us, whenever we're faced with these types of situations, to practice grace and patience. Even though it's difficult, we need to do it.
Exactly. Good words of wisdom there. And Fred, how about you? Any last comments?
Well, yes, Lori. I'm looking at my notes here, and I said the play throws us a pillow beforehand to know how to make what to expect and to react with compassion and understanding. Should Alzheimer's hit close to home, like it did with me and my aunt, who I saw that progress over, 30, 40 years. She used to get my mixed up with my brother. So, and then she eventually ended up in a care facility and had her dolly, which she was convinced was a real baby. But, you mentioned about interacting with each other and improving our quality of life. You're just hitting on basic human relation stuff there. Do unto others. And remember, it's not all about me. It's about the other person. So that's my last comment.
Yeah, I think that's a wise. So the world is bigger than an individual. That's for sure. Well, if anyone is interested in getting more information regarding the audio play, or maybe having a workshop done when things lighten up with COVID, you can contact Jade Angelica at jadeangelica@gmail.com. Jane, was there any other contact information you wanted to give people?
That's perfect.
Okay, wonderful. Well, again, I want to thank you all so much for spending time with us today. Your journey in terms of doing this play was extremely important. I just think this is a wonderful, wonderful work of art and reality that merged, and we'll be able to teach people a lot of fantastic lessons. So, thank you so much for joining us. In closing,
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
In closing, I just want to again tell our audience, please share this. This is a really important play, and I think it will be fantastic. The more people that we can get to see and hear, this information, and where they can go in the future, and that there is hope, and there is great love, and there is deep, deep connection. And sometimes we tend to overlook. You can always go to alzheimersspeaks.com for more information about other initiatives we're doing. But again, thank you again to the cast of The Forgiving and The Forgetting. Wonderfully, wonderfully done. Bye now.
Hey everybody, Jared Sebestier, host of Retire Repurposed. This podcast is dedicated to help people transition into fulfilling and purposeful retirements. Retirement is a big life change. In fact, the two most dangerous years of a person's life are the year they were born and the year they retire. Few people could just flip the switch from working a career 30 or 40 plus years, retiring on Friday without methodical steps to living what we call a repurposed retirement. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.